Welcome, Damon of DamonBrown.net. Good to see y'all. Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and make sure the text's together too. It's always a little bit of a pause with Amazon Live. All right, 1, 2, 3. There we go. Beautiful. Hey, my name is Damon Brown of DamonBrown.net. My main thing is helping you as a side hustler, a solopreneur, or otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. I am so excited because there's so much stuff going on that I can't wait to tell you about. There's a lot of stuff that's coming later on this year. I'm hyped about it. But today I want to talk to you about my new book called Built From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. It actually came out about 2 months ago. I think we're approaching 3 months. Came out January 28th, and it's supposed to help you ideally figure out what your best place is in the world. A lot of the earlier books that I did were more about finding your strength within, because I don't think you can really empower other people. I think you have to empower yourself. And then what I try to do with Build From Now is to change the discussion and say there's systemic things that are happening in the world today. So we need to take that into account. But those very systems that are giving us so many issues and challenges, particularly here in America, through 2020, going into 2021, the stuff is still happening. It was happening before. The stuff that's really coming to the limelight right now, that we can actually use our own strength, our own resources, our focus, our agility, our time, our energy, which are highlighted on the cover of the book. We can use those resources to actually make the world a better place. And so we can accept the systems for how they are and also see how they can evolve based on our own resources. One of my main resources is focus. So I can focus on y'all now, even while I have 2 little kids I'm the primary caretaker of, and as I work on a book and I do all these different things, but being able to bring that energy to y'all, that's where my strength is. And that's how I was able to really show up ideally as my best self in 2020 and going to 2021. If you want to learn more insight about Build From Now, you can actually take a free quiz. Actually, I don't have my glasses today, so I'm going to be leaning in a lot. So you can use to see my face close up. Sorry about that. You can take the free quiz at builtfromnowquiz.com. Again, it's builtfromnowquiz.com. It's a free quiz, multiple choice. It takes 2 minutes. We're approaching 1,000 people that have taken the quiz. It takes 2 minutes. You can figure out what resource you have the most of: focus, agility, time, or energy. Again, I know my resource is focus. I've used that with my coaching clients. I do a lot of one-on-one coaching. And now I want to share that framework with all of y'all, again, for free. So be sure and take the quiz. If you want to learn more about me, I'm over at DamonBrown.net. And this is part of a regular series I've been doing for a little while, where I show up every single Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. or so, Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time, to give some gems or some insights based on my experiences, as well as from my TED Talks, the keynotes that I've done, the coaching I've done over several years now, even my experience as an entrepreneur, doing my 2 startups and selling the second one. If you're liking this insight, I show up every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, live on Wednesdays, but it's every Monday and Wednesday and Friday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Be sure and subscribe. We've had the channel active. I mean myself. It's been regular episodes since late last year, and we're approaching 100 episodes of this, and we just started. It's only early April. We're already got 100 episodes going. I think I'm going to hit the 100th episode probably next week, and you guys are giving really good feedback. If you're enjoying the programming, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe and let me know what's going on. Shout out to y'all there on Amazon Live. If you like it on there, be sure and follow. If you're listening on Twitter, on LinkedIn, all different platforms, be sure and come to the YouTube channel over here and subscribe so you won't miss a beat. All right. So, one other thing before we get into talking about careers, which is our topic for today, how to make your best career. I'm also going to be keynoting the Authorpreneur Conference. That's May 1st and 2nd. That's less than a month from now. I'm prepping my keynote as we speak, or as I speak. You can actually go to theauthorconference.com and then use the special code name Damon15 when you check out. It's already a really good, affordable conference for people who are creators, particularly writers like myself, who want to take their business to the next level, and recognizing that business is separate than the creative aspect of it. And so balancing those things out, I've had a lot of experience about that. Again, I've coached hundreds of people. With that process, I'm going to be giving all my insight that I got keynoting the conference. And there's actually going to be a special after party, if you want to call it that, deep dive coaching session that only a select group of people will be able to get into. So you want to get into that now. I don't think the conference is sold out, but the deep dive coaching that's happening after the conference, I think later on the day on May 2nd, that might be selling out soon. So get involved, check it out. I know some folks that are already excited and have already registered, so get on it. It's less than a month away, so definitely hear that out. All right, so today we're going to talk about careers. It's a big topic for me, and let me throw up my main website up there, or the main channel if you want to subscribe. We're going to talk about making your best careers. And I chose the title really, really carefully because I don't think careers, I don't really believe in jobs, right? I believe in us having careers. And that shift from, say, my mother and my father's generation, and definitely my grandparents' generation, that shifted. The idea is like, get a job, get a job, get a job. And now we're starting to see the axis shift in the world. Particularly again here in America, even in like India, even in places like China, where they tend to be very traditional. You're seeing that shift where it's like, okay, I'm not going to just get a job and then listen to what people are telling me to do, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to sit in that box. It's changed to being more like, no, I'm actually going to decide what kind of impact I want to make on my life and on the world. Again, my book is called Built From Now: How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. So it's the last part of my subtitle. I'm going to nourish the world as opposed to just get a job, because a lot of people can just get a job. Anybody can just get a job. Most people, I should say. Let me not be flagrant about that. Most people can just go get a job. But what about a career? That's something you have control over. Now, there might be jobs that help you along your career, but if you have that bigger vision, then the impact that you're going to make, as well as the salary that you're going to get, the respect you're going to get from your peers, as well as for your supervisors, the list goes on and on. I've selected 4 books. One of them is actually mine, and then there's 3 other ones that will help you on this course. And there's a lot of people that I've been talking, particularly recently. I've been doing keynotes and talking to people who are about half my age. So people who are in college, people who are college age, people who are trying to figure stuff out. And so this is kind of that conversation that I'm having for y'all, because there's so many of y'all that I've connected with, so many of y'all that I've coached. It's been a blessing to connect with the younger generations. And it's like, how do I get a job? How do I get the right job? That's not the mindset. The mindset is, how do I build the right career? And once you figure out what your right career is, right as in, air quotes, once you figure out the right career, then you go and figure out what jobs fit into that paradigm. It doesn't mean don't get a job. That means figure out what career you want to have, how you want to impact the world, and then work backwards from there. So let's get into the books that I recommend if you're going to have this conversation with yourself or with other people. All right, so the first one is Think Again. Think Again by Adam Grant. I've mentioned it a couple times. His book is actually a twin to mine. My book came out, Built From Now came out on January 28th. His book came out like a few days later on that Tuesday, I think February 2nd or something. And so we congratulate each other because I'm glad that he's been supportive of my work. I've definitely been supportive of his, and I've been a fan of his since I saw him speak at TED, and he came out with the book Originals, which is somewhere over here. If your eyes are better than mine, since I don't have my glasses today. But really interesting book. I just finished it. I got a copy probably about a week or two ago, maybe earlier than that. And then, that was definitely earlier than that. And I was able to listen to the audiobook, and I just finished it. I was just telling all these people about it. Here's a basic premise. You're making decisions based on a bunch of assumptions. If you don't pause and think about those assumptions and uncover them, which if you're familiar with my work, I'm all about uncovering. If you don't think about and uncover those assumptions that you've made, then you're going to be on autopilot. A really good example he has from the book is he has a ridiculous amount of examples. He's a Wharton professor, so he's got the research down pat, which is why I'm a fan of his. Example he gives is someone that says, my kids are 8 and 5 now, and it's like, as a kid, you say, I'm going to be a firefighter. So it's like, cool. So you're going to be a firefighter. You already decided that. So then you go to firefighter school, and it's like, well, I don't like running. I don't like heat. But I said I'm going to be a firefighter, so I'm going to be a firefighter. Firefighter is my identity. And so you keep going. You go to firefighter school. I'm actually a couple degrees away from firefighters. So I forget the details. Forgive me, fellow firefighters. I respect you. I respect you being a frontliner. But you go through firefighter school. You go through the training. I think you're on the volunteer list, if I remember correctly. So you're doing that. And sometimes we end up mistaking our job for our identity. And those are two separate things. Me being a writer, I've been a writer, as I mentioned in previous episodes. My mentor of mine, Jane Briggs Bunning, passed away a couple weeks ago. So I mentioned her in one of the previous programs. I think it was a Wednesday before last, where I was talking about how to find energy, I believe. So you can find that again over at in the show notes, as well as with the link right here. Oops, sorry, I told you I'd have my glasses on. With the link right here, you can see the previous episode. But I became a writer, started writing when I was very young, younger than my youngest son. My youngest son is 5. I think I started, according to my parents, like at 3 or 4. And then my identity as a writer was like forever. And then I discovered the stage, and I became a TED speaker. And suddenly that became part of my identity. But if I wasn't able to let go of part of the identity and not just say I'm a writer, then there'll be all kinds of issues with it, right? And I wouldn't even be talking to you today. Since then, I've become a coach, again, a public speaker. I became an entrepreneur twice over. You can learn more about that again in the show, the previous episodes, or I would talk about that again in Build From Now. And so we're required thinking again of what these details are. Like, who am I? And does my identity disintegrate when I become something other than a writer? And come to find out, you have to write public speeches. So I'm still a writer. Come to find out, if you're coaching, you need to think about and listen and almost interview the people that you're going to coach or that you're currently coaching. That comes from journalism, which is my background, right? I can keep going on and on. Entrepreneurship. It's like I'm still taking that toolbox as a journalist and applying it to what does the public want or need right now? What makes sense to the market, which is essentially what you're doing all the time when you're writing articles anyway, particularly for the mainstream public, which is what I did for several years, in fact, decades at this point, right? That's what he gets into in this book. And he has so many good thought exercises, so many good examples. He has historical, pop cultural examples, which I love. I'm a big pop culture guy. But he also has the specific nerdy, ivory tower examples where this study said this and this study said that. It ironically made me think again, as far as how I'm showing up in the world, what limitations I put on myself. And the biggest lesson I got from it, again, isn't that we need to think about how we're showing up in the world again, which is, again, kind of thinking about career. Like, what exactly are we representing now? How do we want to nourish the world? There's no binary way to do it. There's no fixed way to do it. It's like, so you can actually make a contribution. For instance, if you wanted to help protect people and you said, I'm going to do that as a firefighter, well, then you might actually be able to do that as a police person. Or you might be able to do that as a lawyer. You might be able to do that as a congressperson. You might be able to do that, again, as a politician. You might be able to do that as a doctor. Like, that list goes on and on. So you have to figure out what the genesis is of those things that you're fixed on. So if you're having issues with your career and not sure what to do next, you might be too fixed on thinking the way that you previously thought and said, I assumed that I have to show up in the world this way to make this impact. But that's often not true. And all of us make an impact all of us make an impact, but they're all in different ways. So the way I make impact as an author or as a coach might be different than the way that you're making an impact right now. And they're all valid. And so if you're feeling stuck as far as your next career move, then thinking again might be the thing. The thing is, like he talks about, these are often unconscious biases. I have a keynote, and you can check it out over at, again, youtube.com/Brown Damon. I will not throw up the link again because I feel like it's obscuring everything. But if you go to youtube.com/Brown Damon, I actually have a keynote that I did at the American Society of Journalists and Authors Conference. It was back in San Diego, 2015, I think. Yeah, I want to say 2015, 2016, where I talked about, I was right in the process of letting go of my identity of just being a journalist. But that required me thinking again. Again, I became a writer when I was like just past toddlerhood. And then suddenly I was in my 30s and I realized that I was something much bigger than a writer or something different than a writer. And so I had to augment what I was doing and who I was before I could truly embrace becoming an entrepreneur, becoming a keynote speaker, et cetera, becoming a coach. That was, so the keynote that I did around that time, again, you can look it up at youtube.com/BrownDamon. It's the ASJ 2015, I believe, keynote, but you'll find it in my keynote section if you go to the playlist, all right? Think again, though, great book. I just finished it. All those books are really good. This one is probably my favorite so far, so good stuff. All right, so the next one I would recommend is actually Pivot by Jenny Blake. Shout out to Jenny. I actually met her at, again, she was actually keynoting the ASJ conference, the American Society of Journalists and Authors. Shout out to them them as well. That's at asja.org. And I've been a board member over there and then part of the leadership for a little while. But anyway, I met her over there. She has a great book. It's been selling well for years called Pivot. Actually has a physical copy. So I think this is the one that she signed for me at ASJ. It's, I want to say it's 2000, I want to say about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, maybe about 7 years ago. Jenny, if you're listening, let me know when it came out. I'm not going to go and take my time in here because, again, I forgot my glasses. But it came out a while ago. It's still extremely relevant. For all the links I actually did on here, I actually pointed them to the audiobooks. And so if you're into audiobooks, this is a good choice as well as a previous one, Think Again, which, again, I listened to Think Again on audiobook when I was doing my walks. All right, so Pivot is interesting because it's really good if you feel like you've made a career and you need to go in a different direction. Again, if you go to my keynote at youtube.com/BrownDamon for the ASJ conference back in 2015, 2016, you can look it up on in the show notes, or you can go to my YouTube website and look up the keynotes and you'll find it right in there. And that's one of the things that I talked about, is that often it's not about us saying, I need to create a new career. Often we are already on the path of something and we realize that it's not the perfect fit or it's not a great fit. And so if we're working from that level, then we need to find different ways to pivot and to move forward. And that makes a difference. Hold on one second. Yes, sweetheart.
And
yeah.
Actually, did I have that 5 months? I need to. So can I do education video on our computer?
No, not right now. But you can sit. You can sit with Alec because he's still in school, and then I'll go ahead and make sure that it's charged up. In fact, you can work with Alec. You can work with Alec and then have him plug it in.
I already did plug it in.
Okay, then we'll just need to wait then, and you can sit with Alec. Okay. Okay. Can you close the door and make sure you do the quiz for your specials? Thank you.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
No. The only quiz in special on PE is for the end. We have it on Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not on Wednesdays. The quiz is about what we are going to do for this entire week.
I understand. Yep, I'm in the middle of my show, so you two have to go. Abby, go wash your face.
Oh, sorry about interrupting.
It's okay. Thank you. It's okay.
You usually are on YouTube.
Right. So life in quarantine. What are you going to do? But there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and actually being able to hang out with the boys. Even more than I normally do. It's tough, but it's also been a blessing. So one of the things that I realized as a creator was that for the journalism I was doing, and identified only as a journalist and later on as an author, what I was doing, there were other dimensions for me to explore, financially and otherwise. And that required me pivoting. So sometimes when it comes to making the best career moves, it's not about burning the whole thing down. As I've said many times, I tend to be an extremist. I was just catching myself being an extremist the other day. I had an opportunity and I'm like, well, I'm going all or nothing. And I'm like, wait, calm down. There's usually a middle ground. And I usually am thankful because I don't go to extremes with it. So going to extremes can be useful sometimes, but most of the time, not so much. And so sometimes it's not a matter of making your best career by leaving your old stuff behind. But as I've been hinting at the whole time, sometimes it's about taking whatever you're doing and pulling it with you in a different direction. Jenny Blake's book, again, Pivot, is an excellent example of that. She gives concrete examples of that. Quick background on her. She actually, I think she went to Google straight out of college. And it was kind of that era where you had the, the really cool Google internships, and they kind of ended right now, especially with the pandemic. But anyway, she got one of those. I think she started as an intern, and then started a book, the official book group for them, which is kind of a big deal. I was actually an author that spoke at one of their book groups, but that was before I actually met Jenny. So that was years before, when I did some earlier books. And then she pivoted, left there, and became a career coach. And so she has a great podcast called Pivot, but it's based on this book called Pivot. Again, that came out 2010, 2011. But that's her background. So she understands the process of pivoting from so-called secure job at Google to doing what you really want to do, and moving from the Bay Area, Google, over to New York, where she's been for several years. And so she understands the process of that, right? So she's a good leader with that. If you feel like that you need to move your career in a different direction, this would be a great book to get. All right. All right. Next book, I will shamelessly recommend my own, Build From Now. And the reason why I recommend it is because the framework that I talk about in my coaching practice has helped a lot of people pivot. A lot of people think again. I'll stop with the puns. And so again, you can take the free quiz for Build From Now at buildfromnowquiz.com. It'll help you understand the basics of it. I think I went over a lot in the beginning, but we have focus, agility, time, and energy. Focus, agility, time, and energy. And based on those resources, we all have those resources if we're alive. If we're living and breathing, thankfully, then we have those resources that are available. If we don't have those resources, there's something severely wrong with us, right? So if we're healthy, we have those resources. However, depending on what's going on in our lives, those resources go up and down. I have to be very agile right now because, as you saw, my kids just busted in. I only do this show once a week, but they always bust in. So I have to have a certain amount of agility to adjust to that. I don't have a whole lot of time because, again, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I'm the primary caretaker. I have 2 active, healthy kids, and they're both in school. So it's like I got to take care of business. So I don't have a whole lot of time. Because I know what my resources are, focus and being agile, then I'm able to set up my world, my framework based around that framework. And so whatever job I do, again, we're talking career, but actually job, whatever job I do fits that. Me starting my YouTube channel, and let me flip it back to Build From Now. Me starting this YouTube channel, having this conversation with the Bring Your Worst show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That fits the amount of time that I have. I could do a daily show. There's so much to talk about, so many of y'all to connect with. I can probably do the show twice a day. I don't have the time and I don't have the energy. If you want to flash it back to Build From Now, focus, agility, time, and energy. I don't have much of the last 2, like at all, right? I'm not a spring chicken. I got 2 little kids. We've had a year in quarantine. We're doing virtual schooling. I just produced a book. No, I'm not trying to do a show twice a day. But I know great people who are doing shows twice a day. They're killing it. That's great. Good for them. And I look at them and I'm like, that's not me. Build From Now helps with that process to say, how can I make the biggest impact without burning myself out? Where am I using a hammer when I really should be using a feather, and vice versa? So helping with that toolkit. So Build From Now, it's out. As you can tell, I'm super proud of the book. And it's the first book where I'm actually taking the framework of my coaching and giving it to y'all. And again, you can take the quiz for free at buildfromnowquiz.com. But the book is available on all platforms, literally anywhere you get books, you can get it, including your local bookstore. So go support them, grab Build From Now. Again, we got some fun stuff that's happening later on this year. This is a great place to start, though. All right. The last book I would recommend would be This Is Marketing by Seth Godin. If you've been listening at all, you know I love Seth Godin. I got a chance to work with him in the Akimbo workshop. That's at akimbo.com. It's spelled how it sounds. And he's like awesome. He has a new book called The Practice, which is great. I've recommended it before. What I recommend career-wise, though, is This Is Marketing. Here's why. When I coach people, one of the biggest challenges, barriers that we seem to face is thinking that because we have a job, that we aren't a brand. We sometimes forget that we get a job and we're not a brand. But you are. All of us are. I don't mean, Oscar Myers or Purina or whatever. All the stuff from my childhood is popping up, but not the stuff you see in the commercials, Dr. Pepper or whatever, random things like that. I don't mean that. I mean, you are bringing your worth. That's my previous book, Bring Your Worth. You're bringing your worth to the table when you apply for a job, when you show up to your job. Even if you have the job for years, you're bringing your worth to the table. That's what I mean by brand. It's like what you signify. If you're working at your job and they say, oh yeah, you should talk to Carol because she's connected to everyone in the organization and she's really good at helping people find the right other person to talk to. She's a connector. Carol has a brand. So Carol could be working at the job that she's working at with you. Carol could have her own independent consulting thing. Carol could be at another job on the other side of the world. Carol is going to be a connector. That's her brand. I'm big on communication. And so whether I'm writing or when I was in college, I had a bunch of temp jobs to help make ends meet. I could be at a temp job. I could be have my own coaching practice and independent stuff like I do now. I could be a founder, which I was twice over with 2 startups. I could be, as I always say, we could be grabbing a drink at the bar. Doesn't matter. I'm going to be the same. I'm going to be really curious about what other people are doing. I'm going to be listening as much as I'm talking. I'm going to be talking strategically and not just on a superficial level. And there might be some deep conversations that come from that. I'm also really into helping other people see their own power. That's going to happen no matter what. That's going to happen to me, whether I'm a father and, I'm hanging out with my family and my partner, my wife, or, you see me out on vacation somewhere. I'm going to show up the same. You can call it personality. I call it brand because that's the stuff that you're known for. Your career should be based on that, right? That's why I got a smile on my face like most of the time when I'm doing this, because me talking to you, me connecting with you, you connecting the dots based on some of the stuff that I'm saying. And then when we're in a more interactive environment, hearing what you have to say and helping you with your particular insights and maybe even me getting insights from connecting with you. I've been like that forever. And so this is marketing matters because whether you're unemployed and you're trying to get your next job, you're happily employed and you've been at your job forever, or you're independent like myself and you have your own business, we're all going to be marketing ourselves. Marketing means, and I think Seth Godin has a perfect example of it, but I'm going to paraphrase him a little bit because I don't want to mince words, so I don't mix the words up. Marketing, in my interpretation, is making sure, taking an active role in getting whatever goods, services, or products, however you're going to serve somebody else, to the right people and letting them know it's available. So marketing isn't about selling stuff. I was going to say something else, but try to keep it clean. Marketing isn't about selling stuff. No, when I say, hey, Build From Now is available right now at all the major platforms, come through and get it. That's not me saying, let me shill this book. That's me saying, I put a year of effort and many years, perhaps decades, of my experiences and my work as a coach, as a public speaker, as an entrepreneur, and all that into this very book. The reason why I worked so hard on this book is to serve you. That's it. But the book can't get to you if I don't mention the book. The book can't get to you if I don't have live events, which you can catch on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/BrownDamon. The book doesn't get to you. You don't know about the book unless I'm on Amazon Live, unless I'm connecting with you on Twitter, etc., LinkedIn, all the platforms that y'all are watching this now. It doesn't happen. And then previous ages, and hopefully in the future, I'll be on the road and I'll be talking about the book. It's not because I want to sell units. I love selling units. I'm my own publishing. We like selling units. We like making money. All that said, the marketing comes from me saying, I want to serve y'all. I want this book to get into the right hands. That's marketing, right? If you're being your best, if you're doing your best at your job, whether it's a job you created for yourself, like I did, or a job that you applied for and you got the position and you're fortunate to be there, no matter what the situation is, you are marketing because you're saying, this is how I'm going to show up. If you're a very hard worker, and then you don't tell the people that are interviewing you that you're a hard worker, then how are they going to know you're a hard worker? Right? If you have a book or something that you created that you put your blood, sweat, and tears into, and then you don't talk about it, you don't market it, then how's it going to get to the right people? So actually, without marketing it, you're doing a disservice. You're not being greedy by marketing. You're actually doing a disservice to the people you want to serve. Because without marketing, again, he talks about this, and this is marketing. Without Seth Godin's idea of this is marketing, then it's not going to get to the right people, right? So it's not even about like being humble about it and saying, I have this thing. No. Are you trying to serve people? If you're trying to serve people, you need to tell people about it. Period, point blank, end of story. And if it's actually you trying to get a job or to start a career or whatever the case may be, you have to learn how to put that into words, how to express that in some way so people know your value as much as you seem to understand your value. How you bring your worth, part of that is showing people what your worth is. Otherwise, how are they going to know? How are they going to hire you if you can't express why you should be hired? Why are they going to buy your book if you're not telling people why the book is important and you're trying to and not talking to the people that you're trying to serve? That's why in the career conversation, even if you're not independent, you need to read This is Marketing, because it talks about that conundrum we get into where I've met so many people that say they hate public speaking because they hate talking about themselves. In fact, it should be the reverse, right? Public speaking isn't about you. It's about who you're trying to serve. And if your thing, whatever you have to share, is that important as far as you want to make an impact on the world, so I got my finger up, you want to make an impact on the world, then you will get over whatever you need to get over to get on that stage. Because that, you serving that audience outweighs whatever insecurities you happen to have. That's how you get on stage. That's what he talks about in This is Marketing. I could talk about this for another hour. As you can tell, I got all riled up. It's like lunchtime. I don't know why I'm riled up. But This is Marketing. I think that will help you on your career journey. It definitely helped me. It might be my favorite book of his next to The Dip. And I've talked about The Dip before. You can see the previous programming at youtube.com/BrownDamon. Or if you're on Amazon Live, check the console. You'll see what's going on with that. If you're liking the content that's going on, please feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe over at this link right here. Again, I come every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11:30 a.m. All right. So from the top, books are going to help you make your best career, whether you're seasoned like myself, lightly seasoned, hopefully, lightly seasoned like myself, or you're just starting off like a lot of the people I'm connecting with now that are more college age. Think Again by Adam Grant. All his books are great. This is my favorite at the moment. It just came out 2-3 months ago. Highly recommend it if you're starting to question, or if you feel like you need to question assumptions you're making. If you're feeling stuck, as I say, that might be why, because there's certain assumptions that you made that your career has to be a certain way. There might be a level of open-mindedness that you need to find. All right. Next book would be Pivot by Jenny Blake. This is an oldie but goodie. I'd say it's about 8-9 years ago, but really good podcast called Pivot. I think it's called Pivot Podcast, but you can check it out. But this book is gold, really good stuff. And she's extremely practical about it. She likes systems as much as I do. And she's got all kinds of systems going on. I can't even get into it. Like there's like 50 systems she has as far as figuring out what your next act is going to be. Remember, it's not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, but working with what you got and building on that. Speaking of, we got my new book called Build From Now. It's available on all the platforms. It's based on the 4 attributes we all have, 4 resources, I call them: focus, agility, time, and energy. Based on those resources, we can get a whole lot of stuff done, but we have to know what resource we have the most of. I have a free quiz at buildfromnowquiz.com, buildfromnowquiz.com. That'll show you what it is. It takes 2 minutes. You should check it out. But the book itself goes a lot deeper into that, as well as the systemic issues that we've been dealing with that, particularly in America, have been coming out big time. So you have to talk about the systems that we're working in. Then we can start to empower ourselves to change those systems. Build From Now talks about both of those things. So y'all have been really generous with the reviews and sharing with other people. Thank you for the support. Again, it just came out, so I appreciate the love. Lastly, perhaps my favorite book from Seth Godin, next to The Dip, that will be This is Marketing. You're marketing yourself every single day, whether you're asking somebody out on a date. You're trying to get someone to check out your new podcast. You're applying to a job. You're marketing yourself every single day. Marketing is a dirty word. It should not be. Without marketing, people don't know that you're trying to serve them. Without you telling people that you're trying to serve that community, then you cannot serve the community. If you want to nourish the world, you have to market, period, point blank, in a story. You're going to give me another rant now, but I'm not going to go there. Grab the book, excellent book. And like I said, The Dip is my favorite book from his. This will be my second favorite book. I talk about The Dip quite a few episodes at the Bring Your Worth show at youtube.com/BrownDamon. And you just go to the playlist and you'll see it, Bring Your Worth show. I'm approaching 100 episodes. And about 3 or 4 of those episodes are about quitting and when to end things. The Dip talks about that. Excellent book. This will be my second favorite book. If you're looking at where you want to go in your career and you want to build a career that lasts, you have to be able to connect with the people that you're trying to help. Otherwise, why are you doing what you're doing, right? If you're saying you want to help, you want to serve, then you got to learn how to market. This is a great discussion, particularly if you're allergic to the term marketing. You need to read this book. All right. Lastly, come through to the blah, blah, like got 20 tongues today. The Authorpreneur Conference. I'm keynoting it. It's the last weekend of April, first weekend of May 1st and 2nd. I'm keynoting as well as doing a deep dive coaching session called an after party after the conference. Both those things are happening on May 2nd. I think for the after party, it's pretty limited. So we might be running out of slots for that. I think there's still tickets for the general conference. Be sure and use the code Damon15. You get a nice discount. It's also very affordable. This is for writers, for creators, people in the creative writing space, as well as journalists who want to up their business game. There's no reason for writers to be broke, right? So we're going to get into some of the things we have control over, even the things that we don't have control over. And some things just take time. I'm going to break it all down. The keynote is based on my popular book, wherever I put it. I have a mess today. Bring Your Worth. How to level up your creative power, value, and service to the world. The keynote will be based on that. And of course, we're going to have a sprinkle of the new book, Built From Now. Thank all of y'all that have been supporting the book. And remember, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go on and subscribe it's only I'm from the South. Go on and subscribe at this link, youtube.com/BrownDamon. Click the link, you can subscribe, and then you'll get a little notification when a new episode's coming. But you know when it's coming. But go on and subscribe. You make sure that you can join me. Again, I'm live every Wednesday. As long as we keep going, man, I think I've been live every Wednesday since like December. It's April. Like, whew. It's been quite a run, so I've been enjoying it. But definitely every Monday and Friday is going to be a new episode. Even if I don't keep doing lives, there'll be a new episode on Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. Anyway, I hope the book recommendations help you build your next level of your career or even start your career. And give some love in the comments, give some likes and shares. And particularly with the comments, let me know if there's any things you want me to address or talk about in the future episodes, as I can keep going and going, but I want to make sure I'm serving y'all. Okay, so until next time, remember you can bring your worth that you always build from now. Take care.